How would you feel if a long-standing practice that you relied on for financial stability was suddenly deemed illegal? Imagine waking up to that reality. That's precisely what happened when the Chandigarh administration dropped a bombshell on February 9, 2023. They issued an order that effectively stopped the recognition of house share sales, a practice that had been in place for over 20 years. Families had been able to purchase property shares in denominations of 50%, 30%, and 20%, providing a sense of security and a tangible investment. But with a single stroke of the pen, this security blanket was ripped away. Now these transactions are no longer being legally registered. The consequences are far-reaching and have plunged residents who invested in property shares into financial distress. The order has disrupted the lives of many, particularly those who spent their life savings from provident funds on these shares. Consider the plight of working couples who are now trapped in a vicious debt cycle, struggling to repay housing loans without the possibility of selling their property shares. It's like being caught in a financial quicksand. The more they struggle, the deeper they sink. And what about the families who invested extra amounts in property shares for future financial needs? They had plans, dreams even, of funding higher education for their children. Now these dreams hang in the balance, teetering on the edge of a precipice. The order is not only a financial blow, but also a blow to the aspirations and hopes of many families. It's a stark reminder of how a single administrative decision can impact the lives of countless individuals. This abrupt change has left many families in a financial crisis, unable to sell their property shares. The question now is, how will they navigate this stormy sea of uncertainty? And more importantly, what will the Chandigarh administration do to address this crisis? The answers to these questions will shape the future of many families and determine the path forward in the wake of this controversial order. Imagine your life savings being trapped, with no way to recover them. This is the harsh reality that is facing countless couples in Chandigarh. They've worked hard, saved diligently from their provident funds, and invested all their life savings into property shares. But now they're stuck. Unable to repay their housing loans, they're spiraling down into a vicious cycle of debt that seems to have no end. But the impact doesn't stop there. There are families who've planned for their future, who've invested more than just their savings in property shares. They've invested their dreams of a better life, dreams of providing their children with a higher education. But with the sudden derecognition of house share sales, they're staring at a looming crisis. Their dreams are now on the brink of being shattered. This crisis has been further exacerbated by the recent increase in the GIC fund limits in Canada. This has put additional financial strain on families, making it even harder for them to afford higher education for their children. Senior citizens, too, are bearing the brunt of this crisis. Struggling with financial constraints, they're now unable to access proper medical care and a nutritious diet. The stress of the situation is causing relationships within families to strain, as they grapple with the inability to care for their elders the way they would want to. This situation is not only causing financial distress, but it's also tearing families apart, causing emotional distress that's just as damaging. The failure of the Chandigarh administration to withdraw the controversial order has had a severe impact on the lives of these families. It's left them in a state of financial disarray and emotional turmoil. And the worst part is that this is all happening during a critical period, a period when they need financial stability the most. The failure to withdraw the order has severely impacted the lives of these families, especially during a critical period. This is not just a financial crisis, it's a crisis of dreams, of hopes, and of the future. It's a crisis that urgently needs to be addressed. But the pain doesn't stop with the immediate financial crisis. As we delve deeper into the repercussions of this order, we find another group of victims, our senior citizens. Already shouldering the weight of financial constraints, they now find themselves without the means to access proper medical care and a nutritious diet. The safety net they thought they had, in the form of property shares, has been pulled from under them. Imagine a life where every penny counts, where the cost of a single pill or a healthy meal could tip the scales. That's the harsh reality these elders are grappling with, their golden years tarnished by the uncertainty and stress brought on by this order. This crisis also seeps into the fabric of familial relationships. It's not just about money anymore, it's about the strain and tension that financial distress brings. Parents who dreamt of providing a comfortable life for their children are left wringing their hands, helpless. Children who hope to support their aging parents find themselves trapped in a vicious cycle of debt. The family home, once a symbol of security and warmth, now stands as a monument to their shared struggle. This is the unseen tragedy of the order. The heartbreak and hardship experienced by those who were simply trying to secure a future for themselves and their loved ones. These unseen victims bear the brunt of this order, their plight often overlooked. When crisis strikes, we look to our leaders for solutions. But what happens when those solutions are not forthcoming? For almost a year now, the Chandigarh administration seems to have turned a deaf ear to the cries of its citizens. Despite the financial distress and the social strife caused by the controversial order, the administration has yet to withdraw it. This delay, coupled with the administration's seeming ignorance of the adverse effects on its citizens, paints a worrying picture. In the face of this indifference, the people of Chandigarh have not remained silent. Protests are being planned, the most notable of which is the car rally. But even as these protests are being organized, doubts linger about their effectiveness in persuading the administration to reconsider its decision. Adding to these concerns is the administration's decision to hold a grievances meeting on the very day of the car rally. This move has raised eyebrows and deepened suspicions. Is this an attempt to divert attention from the rally and pacify the protesters with empty promises? Or is it a genuine effort to address the concerns of the citizens? These actions, or rather the lack thereof, raise severe questions about the administration's commitment to its citizens. Is it prioritizing rigid rules over the welfare of its people? Is it insensitive to the hardships its decisions have inflicted on the residents of Chandigarh? These actions raise questions about the administration's commitment to the welfare of its citizens. The clock is ticking, and with each passing day, the situation worsens. The consequences of the controversial order are more than just financial. They are a matter of life and death. Grim reports, such as the unfortunate passing of a senior citizen on March 6, 2023, bear testament to the gravity of the situation. This is not just a story of lost investments or shattered dreams. It is a story of human lives hanging in the balance, of citizens subjected to undue hardship and distress. The urgency for the administration to act responsibly has never been more apparent. The need to rectify this situation is not just a matter of policy, but of moral duty. It's high time for the Chandigarh administration to put the welfare of its citizens first and foremost. The delay and withdrawal has been detrimental to the well-being of citizens, and the administration must act now to avoid further harm. In the face of adversity, the true test of a leader is how they respond. And in this case, the Chandigarh administration's response has been, unfortunately, wanting. Their actions, ceasing the recognition of house share sales, have contradicted the very principles of humanity and welfare policies they ought to uphold. The consequences of this decision have been severe, affecting the most vulnerable among us, the working class, the elderly, and the future of our nation, our children. The misuse of UNESCO rules and the misrepresentation by certain lawyers have further muddied the waters, creating an urgent need for clarity and a swift resolution. The administration's delay in withdrawing the order has led to distress, planned protests, and even casualties. It is high time for the administration to prioritize citizens' welfare over rigid rules. It is crucial for the Chandigarh administration to promptly address citizens' concerns and act in the interest of public welfare. Jai Hind.